at our small but mighty audience in person, and also to our camera, to our virtual audience. So we are going to be doing these more in hybrid, right, Megan? So I want to invite, and if you want to try Megan's home cooked treats, that should be your incentive, which is behind us. Based on the theme at hand today, I invite you to come in person. So welcome to One Bite at a Time. For those of you that are joining for the first time, this was an opportunity for us to take a deep dive in one specific facet of nutrition that we thought was timely, relevant to cancer survivorship, and something that I think we both get a lot of questions about in various forums. And these are meant to be, again, brief, focus topics. So we estimate this to be about 30 minutes, just so that I know it's the middle of the afternoon, so that you can get on to your other busy activities. So Megan Laszlo is our clinical nutrition coordinator who leads this program, One Bite at a Time, and also Nutrition in Your Kitchen, which is our 3-part cooking demonstration program. Today, we're going to talk about collagen. Are the benefits only skin deep? I think many people view this as either a supplement or sometimes just a natural food that should or should not, you'll let us know, be incorporated into our diet. I think it's come into a lot of topics that relates to cancer survivorship. So Megan, educate us. Should we be taking collagen, and what do we know and not know? And I'll be in the background on mute.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to take a moment to share my slides. Just give me just a minute. I'm going to welcome our in-person attendees. Okay. So I wanted to talk about what collagen is and just get a good idea for what it is that we're talking about. And we'll talk about it in different forms, whether it's in our body or the collagen that we could get from food or supplements. So collagen is a protein, and it's found throughout the body. It's estimated that 30% of our body is actually made from collagen. And collagen translates from Greek to mean glue producing. So you could think of collagen in that way, as holding the body together, because it's comprised of mostly connective tissue. And there's different types of collagen that have been identified. These are the 5 main types, but there are multiple ones. And collagen's role in our body is to give our skin elasticity and strength. It helps grow and replace skin cells. It's a protective covering for organs. It helps blood clot. And it's also a component of ligaments and tendons. And collagen we may think of as being in the cosmetic industry or used for cosmetic surgery or burn surgery, but it's also found in our bodies and sold as a dietary supplement. So when we think about factors that decrease collagen within our bodies, there are things like age. As we get older, we have a natural decline in collagen in our bodies, and this is often identified as getting wrinkles or having crepey skin, or the weakening of the muscles, tendons, joints, being more prone to injury or decreased function, loss of mobility. This could also be a part of changes in blood flow or venous insufficiency from lack of collagen. So age is definitely a factor. Menopause causes a decrease in collagen in the body as well. And that's from the drop in estrogen. Smoking also decreases collagen. It damages collagen. We know that smoking also causes wrinkles, right? Because it constricts blood flow and it prevents oxygen and nutrients getting to the surface of the skin. UV light also causes a decrease in collagen. So it's important, so any dermatologist will tell you, talking about this subject, to wear sunscreen and protect against UV light. And then there's also excessive sugar or advanced glycation end product intake. And we've talked about this before in our cooking methods session. Advanced glycation end products are found in foods that have undergone a Maillard reaction. So caramelization or browning of meat. It's found in very high amounts in things like bacon and French fries and other foods as well. And then we know that autoimmune diseases can also cause a decrease in collagen in the body. So how does collagen break down? So when we think about collagen and looking at the different types that are available, I think it's helpful to think of collagen as a protein. If we were to look at a container of bone broth and look at the protein content, that would represent the collagen in that product mostly. So most of the protein found in bone broth is collagen based. But when we consume collagen, it gets broken down, or we can find it sold in broken down forms like collagen peptides. So you often see this we have a container here if anybody wants to look at it, but we have collagen peptides that are sold, and they're mostly hydrolyzed, or you can also find ultra hydrolyzed peptides. And what's interesting about the peptides is that, in our body, we know that they break down into amino acids, and collagen has many different amino acids in it, but it's most known for hydroxyproline, which is only found in collagen. It also contains proline and glycine in large amounts as well. And we think of amino acids being the end product of protein absorption, right? That's what our body absorbs in our intestinal tract. But there's also research to show that our intestine can absorb some of these collagen peptides in their intact forms. And so that's kind of what makes them special, especially when we talk about supplements. In food sources, we find collagen in animal connective tissue, just like we find in our body. It's going to be in larger amounts in things like tripe or chicken feed or certain cuts of meat that are high in connective tissue. You can see here in this photo of lamb shank that the muscles are surrounded by connective tissue. It's been found in things like skin, just like our bodies as well. Fish and gelatin. Gelatin is a form of denatured collagen. And then we also know that it's found in bone broth. Now, the collagen content of bone broth can vary widely. It can range from anywhere from 40 to 80%. And so that makes it really difficult to study, right, with that kind of variability. So there's not a lot of studies on food sources of collagen because there is so much variability, and because we may get better absorption from the collagen peptides themselves rather than the collagen. So I know this question used to come up a lot for me, and what's the difference between stock and bone broth? And I'll just that picture's not of bone broth, so I'll bring those down. But there's no universally accepted definition for stock versus bone broth. Generally, we think of stock as being a liquid that's had aromatics added to it and maybe bones that's cooked for a few hours, whereas bone broth is something that you usually intentionally add bones that have marrow or large amounts of connective tissue, and you cook it for potentially up to 24 hours in order to extract the gelatin or the collagen out of the broth. So some examples of this are consommé, where you take bone broth and add egg white to it to kind of filter it to get a clear liquid broth. And then if consommé is allowed to cool, it turns into aspic. And I know we don't eat a lot of aspic in this country. It's more popular in Europe. Yeah. And exactly, gelée. But I actually learned the other day that aspic is used to make soup dumplings. So if you've ever had Chinese soup dumplings, when they're made, in order to form the dumpling, they'll take aspic and roll it into the dumpling. And then when it's heated, it turns to liquid like a soup. So maybe you have had aspic and not realized it.
Somebody's broken.
Somebody may be on, may need to mute. That's what we're hearing. And so thinking about gelatin as well, aspic, I think, is just savory jello, right? If you've ever made gelatin, you know that you have to add a warm liquid to the gelatin in order for it to dissolve, right? And then once it cools, it's solidified. So you usually add that liquid to some kind of mold or whatever shape you want it to take. But with collagen peptides, they can be added to a warm or a cold liquid, which makes them much more versatile if it's something that you're trying to add to your daily routine or achieve measurable predetermined amounts. So collagen supplements, as we said before, that you'll see collagen peptides, collagen hydrolysate, as well as other more hydrolyzed forms of collagen available. What hasn't been determined is if there's one best form of collagen, and we'll talk more about some of the variation there. There is flavor variability though, and the ultra hydrolyzed forms don't have a flavor, whereas some of the just simply hydrolyzed collagen or collagen peptides can have kind of a bone brothy flavor. Again, if anybody wants to try, we have some. That flavor may not be noticed depending on what you add it to, right? Like if you're putting it in your smoothie or your coffee, you may not taste bone broth.
I'm they just as potent as the liquid ones?
Is the collagen just as potent? There's variation. So I think that that's what we have to determine. But I think it depends. We'll keep talking about it. I think it's important to keep in mind here that they're all animal-based. And they could be derived from different sources. So if you're someone that doesn't eat certain animal products, you want to be aware of that when looking at the label. Or if you're someone that has an allergy to certain animal products, being aware of that as well. These are some examples of the different brands of collagen peptides that are in the marketplace. Recently, there's also a vegan product. As we said, these are animal-based only. So this is a vegan product that takes plant-based amino acids and puts them in the same ratios as collagen. So I think that's something that's interesting. It hasn't yet to be determined if this is truly comparable to the other collagen products. It's called B-Collal. But this is a big growing business. By 2025, the worldwide market value is estimated to be at over 6 billion. I think that's something to take into consideration. I also want to note that you may also see these vegan collagen boosters in the marketplace. And these are products that contain vitamin C and zinc and copper and do not necessarily contain collagen, but they're selling products that are supposed to support the production of collagen. So let's talk about skin health, skin appearance. When we look at the studies on collagen and skin health, there's a variation here. As I've probably said over and over again, there's a lot of heterogeneity in these studies, but it's looking at about 1 to 10 grams of collagen peptides per day, but a benefit's actually been seen from 2.5 grams per day. And these are the benefits that the research has found. It's not 100% conclusive all of the time, but it's definitely in this direction that collagen does show to improve skin hydration, elasticity, dermal density, and reduce facial wrinkles. And some of these benefits are generally seen after 60 or 90 days of supplementation. So it's kind of a commitment of taking this supplement for 2 to 3 months before you could expect to see a benefit, and that they're maintained for 30 days after stopping supplementation. Even though you'll see on collagen products that they advertise that it's good for hair and it's good for nail growth, the studies don't really support that. There are some studies, but they're not very good. Most of them didn't use a control group. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well, especially if you're looking at taking this product for hair regrowth after chemotherapy or things like that. So in terms of bone health, what we have pictured here are some examples so you can better understand normal bone versus bone that has osteopenia, osteoporosis, and severe osteoporosis where the bone gets more breakable. I want to look at 2 different randomized control trials. This first one is from 2018. They used 131 women in this study that were postmenopausal but didn't have a diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis. It was a placebo-controlled, double-blind, randomized control trial, and subjects were all encouraged to take vitamin D and calcium. And what they found was that the individuals that took the 5 grams of collagen peptides per day for a year had significant increases in their bone mineral density versus those that did not. Another randomized control trial, smaller, with 51 women, we're working with women that were postmenopausal and had a diagnosis of osteopenia. And they had them take calcium and vitamin D with or without collagen peptides for 12 months. And the intervention that used the collagen peptides along with the calcium and vitamin D also had increases in bone mineral density, whereas the group that just took the vitamin D and the calcium had actually reduced bone mineral density. Moving on to osteoarthritis and joint health. The studies here kind of range from around 3 to 6 months showing a benefit. I haven't seen any long-term studies in this area. I'm most looking at about 5 to 10 grams of collagen peptides per day, and then also looking at 40 milligrams of undenatured type 2 collagen, which is that type of collagen that's found in joints and ligaments. There was some studies showing improvements in pain relief and joint function for arthritis, but no benefit for rheumatoid arthritis. I think that's an important distinction to be made. And in fact, a couple of studies showed that collagen may be actually superior to glucosamine and chondroitin, for pain relief and joint function. So I think that's a consideration as well, because we know that so many individuals take glucosamine and chondroitin for arthritis. And there really appears to be mixed results in joint pain and recovery from injury for non-osteoarthritis individuals. There are some studies showing that it can help with tendonitis and ligament injuries, but it's overall kind of mixed. So I think that's something we want to keep looking at. There's also some studies that show that collagen intake can help with pressure ulcers, or what we would call bed sores as well. So there may be an advantage there that we can continue looking at too. So collagen for gut health. So pictured here is an illustration of gut barrier function. So we talk about this off and on in this series. So I thought it would be helpful to have an image. So on the left, we have basically what's showing healthy tight junctions within the intestinal wall that can keep materials that we don't want passing through the intestinal wall and getting in our body. On the right, we have faulty junctions here where microorganisms and toxins can cross this gut barrier. So when you hear the term leaky gut or intestinal permeability, this is what we're talking about. And so collagen has been used to support intestinal permeability and used for those with autoimmune issues. If anyone's ever heard of the autoimmune protocol diet, it's a part of that. Drinking bone broth regularly is a part of that diet plan. And glycine has really been touted as the reason for doing so, that glycine is the reason for incorporating the bone broth. But glycine has not been shown to improve gut permeability. So really more research is needed to determine the role of glycine on gut health. For muscle health, I know a lot of individuals do use collagen for muscle health or use it as a protein source as well. But this double-blind parallel group clinical trial really showed that whey protein outperformed collagen when it came to acute and long-term muscle protein synthesis. And that, really in general, collagen is inferior to other sources of dietary protein for building muscle specifically. So we'll talk about why. So this is a chart comparing different protein powders on our left. We have whey and casein, which are from milk, collagen, eggs, soy, pea, hemp, rice, and also cricket protein powders that are all available in the market. You can see it's indicated whether or not the protein powder is a complete protein, meaning it contains all of the essential amino acids in it. Collagen is not a complete protein. It does not contain all of the essential amino acids. It doesn't have tryptophan. And it's also low in methionine. So when we talk about protein quality, this is one of the things that we talk about, whether or not it's a complete protein, whether or not it provides all these essential amino acids. And you can see here some of these other ones that are low in essential amino acids, making them less, even though they are technically a complete protein, the ratios isn't advantageous for muscle health. And then we have our branched chain amino acids, or BCAAs. These are depleted after exercise, and we need them for muscle tissue maintenance. Collagen doesn't contain these either. Another way of evaluating protein quality is to look at this high ratio of essential amino acids to the protein. So for example, if you had 25 grams of whey protein, you get 10 essential amino acids. But to get those same 10 essential amino acids, you would need something like 60 grams of hemp protein. So you need more volume to achieve the same essential amino acids. And the digestibility, sorry, I don't want to mess this up. Digestible, indispensable amino acid score is another measure of protein quality. This is based also on essential amino acids. A good score is 1 or greater. And collagen can't even enter into this because it doesn't contain the essential amino acids. And so really you can see here that some of the best options for muscle building are whey, I would say followed by casein as well as egg, but we typically recommend whey because that's what most of the research has shown to be helpful for muscle building specifically. But I will add that you'll also see some of these plant-based protein powders adding sources of methionine to kind of bridge that gap as well. So it's something to consider if you are vegan. So considerations and things to think about with collagen. One, supplementation may cause nausea, diarrhea, gas, may cause some issues. Two, the FDA doesn't regulate collagen supplements. There's very little oversight into these products. So that is, one of the reasons we want to use caution and also just evaluate the products that we're using. I will say I reviewed the consumer lab reports of the several different collagen supplements, and there weren't concerns about heavy metals or other contamination issues. They generally had in them what they said they had in them on the label when they were evaluated by a third party. So I think that's pretty reassuring. Another limitation is that there are many industry-funded studies. I would say most of the studies I saw were industry-funded by collagen makers. And so that represents a big bias in the research. Another consideration is we can't direct collagen where to go. We can't say, I want these amino acids to go to my face and my skin if I have a wound that needs healing. They're going to go to where the body needs them, right? We can't tell them where to go in our body. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there are some taste differences among the collagen powder. Below are some examples of them, like more ultra hydrolyzed options that don't have a flavor. So if you're looking for something like that, those are some brand options. So emerging research really demonstrates that there are some potential benefits for skin, for bone, and for joint health with these amounts relatively. I think it's worth noting, and I think this is also just part of the heterogeneity in products and research and a lack of FDA oversight, that there are no national health organizations that recommend collagen supplementation for any of the reasons that we've talked about. But I think that there's pretty low risk of using it. And I think as someone that doesn't eat a lot of meat regularly, or I think it's a way to get some essential or some helpful amino acids that I wouldn't otherwise get from a diet. So I think that's something to consider.
And how does it affect your hormones?
We'll do questions in just a second. Sorry. And collagen is really not a substitute for healthy habits. I wouldn't say like it's okay to smoke as long as you take collagen, or it's okay to get sunburned as long as you take collagen for your skin. Like these two, it's important to still have healthy habits and then consider collagen as an additive. And really, it's just used as an anti-aging remedy, when you think about it. And I think that's why it's been so popular, and why there is research to support it. Lastly, I have an offering. This is a recipe for some matcha collagen bites. We have some here for our guests to try if anybody would like to. They contain whole grains, so rolled oats, chia seeds, almond butter, honey, matcha, and collagen peptides. Basically just mixed together and rolled in coconut. And then each bite yields what you can see there below the picture, but 2.5 grams of collagen. So if you are taking collagen for skin appearance, that would be the recommended daily amount. I will say collagen is pretty versatile, as we were talking about before. You can put it in your coffee, your smoothie, your yogurt. It blends really well in different things. So it doesn't have to be this, but if you're looking for something caffeinated, high fiber with collagen, this is what I would suggest. And then lastly, I want to share that we have recordings of all these lectures on a Cedars Sinai Cancer's YouTube channel, as well as the other Wellness, Resilience, and Survivorship series.
Okay, thank you, Megan. So we have a few minutes for questions. I'm going to start with our in-person group. There were a couple of questions I thought. So and I have a couple always for you too. So I'll see.
How, as far as in relationship to breast cancer and hormones, how does collagen affect your hormones?
I'm just going to repeat it in case they can't hear. So the question being, for people who are concerned about exogenous hormones and feeling cancer, should we be worried about collagen?
I don't think that collagen contains hormones.
Well, how does it affect your hormones? Because if you're losing collagen, it's because you're losing hormones as well. And so how does that, because somebody that's worried about, hormone growth, that's my curiosity. How will that affect?
Right. I think that's an interesting question. I haven't seen any research that shows that how it affects estrogen or other hormone levels within the body. So to date, that hasn't been a
have
concern that
not
I've
either.
observed in,
Yeah.
in researching for this topic, but I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah, because that's what I've been concerned about.
And I'm sorry for everyone in the room. I know we can't see the screen up here, but we do have audience members here.
Okay, so let's go through other questions. Let's see. Is there a biomarker that can measure collagen?
No, unfortunately, no. There's no blood test that can measure collagen levels in the body. We can't see it on body composition scans, for example. So there's no real measurement of it. I think it's mostly identified by either injuries, and assessing, whether it may be beneficial there if you're getting multiple injuries, or for those that are looking to improve their skin appearance, because that's something that we look at every day is our face, right? But
I think we already addressed this one, but another question about, are collagen supplements safe for breast cancer survivors on aromatase inhibitors? I don't think there's any contraindication from anything I've seen. You agree?
I agree.
Okay.
I think it's very low risk.
What about people that aren't on the medication?
So is there any risk for individuals that are not on aromatase inhibitors? Again, I think it's very low risk. I think the biggest risks are more related to food allergies than anything else.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to ask a question just to integrate them to what we have. So I think a typical collagen supplement has 20 grams of protein. Is that right?
Yeah,
We could
actually,
look.
we could look this scoop here. I think is 20 grams of
Okay,
protein.
I think I typically have seen 20 grams. Do you have any idea if I have a cup of bone broth? Do you have any idea how that compares in terms of
So
this says 20 grams.
no,
in
I
this
think that's a
supplement.
great question. And this is kind of up a lot. And, I think there are studies that show how much protein is in different bone broth, or rather how much collagen, by estimating it and testing it. You can look at a bone broth and it will tell you how much protein. And I think we can, because it has to have a nutrition facts label, right? So it's 40 to 80% of that is collagen.
Okay.
So again, huge variability based on what bones they use, how long it was cooked for, et cetera. So there's really no way to measure it.
Okay.
There is a great review article on Consumer Lab Reports that looks at different bone broth products and reports that information, though, if you were going to buy it commercially.
Okay.
I just wanted to make a point. It's interesting because you did say like there's no evidence that it supports like nail or hair growth, and it says like strong nails and the hair is on it. It has like a little T next to it, so I think there's like a disclaimer.
They
Right.
generally
They
say
market
that
it
on these
that.
products. And I think, looking at some of the research here with that dosage, with one scoop being 20 grams, that's more than would benefit most of the reasons that we looked at today.
Right.
If you put a scoop of this in with hot water, would it taste like bone broth or not?
No.
In my experience, no.
It may have a
It's
slight bone broth
generally
taste to it,
tasteless.
but generally tasteless.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat. What kind of collagen would be best for skin in terms of the number type? Skin and bone.
1.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
Collagen type 1. But mostly the research supports the collagen peptides. If it's a peptide, then it can't be labeled by collagen type.
Okay, can you have too much collagen?
I think we don't know. As far as we know, there's no upper limit for collagen, but I think if you are consuming large amounts of collagen specifically, you may be displacing other amounts of high quality proteins that you could be consuming, right?
I agree. Okay, I'm going to go back to one of my questions. I've heard anecdotally some people mention that they might choose ground beef as their animal source, with the idea that ground beef includes the tendons and other parts that will contain more collagen. Is there any legitimacy to that idea?
I mean, I think ground beef is usually ground chuck, so it's not necessarily going to have as much tendons and particles that are difficult to chew through, right? I think, if you were looking for cuts that are high in collagen, things like
Yeah, what would
chicken
those be?
wings or chicken feet or
Okay.
or tribe or exactly lamb shank, things like that that have more connective tissue that may need a longer cooking time, like lamb shank.
Okay. What about, and I know I'm throwing in a bunch today. Some products will advertise themselves as grass-fed collagen as opposed to traditional collagen. Any differences that
As
we know
far
of?
as
That we
as
know
far
of?
as I know, no. I mean, I think, I think that's on there for multiple reasons. I mean, I think that part of the reason for grass-fed is an animal welfare consideration, right? I think another part of it is the differences in fatty acid contents that have been identified in the animal muscle as for animals that are grass-fed free range. But as far as that enters into the collagen quality or content, I'm unsure.
And just to expand what Megan was talking about, so the theory is that for the muscle, if you have grass-fed meat, it may have a little bit more omega-3, theoretically, but I don't know how that extends to the collagen source. It probably doesn't.
Right, or if there's any real differences in the amino acid content of those collagen products.
Okay.
I wouldn't think so.
All right, someone in the chat asks, do you have a favorite brand?
I'm new to collagen. I've been testing some of these out. This one seems fine. A lot of the ones I put on the slide, including this Garden of Life and Vital Proteins, seem like good products. I tried this and I've read reports that it had a bone broth taste to it. I don't find that to be true for me, especially with what I mixed it in. So I think that there's multiple types to try.
Okay, Gail asked, my collagen contains type 1 and type 3 versus type 2. Should I be looking for only type 2?
Type 2 seemed to be the one most supported for joint health. So I think that's the reason for joint health would be the type 2 collagen. But I think a lot of them mix them because they are found in multiple places in the body. So, through that process of obtaining the collagen powder from the source, they may be mixing multiple sources.
Okay, I thought of one more. So there's a couple of small studies that glycine, which collagen has a fair amount of glycine, can help with sleep by lowering core body temperature. Have you come across anything in that space or experience with integrating collagen for optimizing sleep?
No, that's interesting, but it is known for its glycine content. You're right.
So just another idea to maybe to consider. Okay, let me see if I missed anything else. Anything else from the room?
Yeah, like, so if you slow cook something, like it's a high connective tissue in it. So like if you're making a broth, I'm assuming the collagen is in the broths, right? But what if you slow cooked it and you don't like if you do slow cooked pork or something like that for a sandwich, pulled pork kind of a thing? So does that still have collagen, or have you got rid of it by slow cooking it?
Well, I mean, I think it depends if you have connective tissue and bone there, because that's where most of the collagen is going to come from. It's not going to come from the muscle, right? So if it's bone where you can have access to the marrow coming out, and then the connective tissue, and then there's also often a recommendation to add an acid component to that as well to help pull the collagen out of the product.
Like lemon juice or vinegar?
Maybe vinegar, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but there might be.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. We're gonna try Megan's treat today. So again, if you want to come in the future, we'd love to have you in person if it makes sense. Again, these were meant to be relatively short and sweet sessions. Megan, thank you as always for all the time that you invest.
Thank you.
To our audience, thank you all for joining, and we hope to see you at the next one.
Can we
Thank you.
put the